Hello, dear friends. This series is going to be about this gentleman by the name of George Gurdjieff, right? So we'll be talking about few fundamental things. That is law of seven, law of three. Now, please understand, these two are the basic fundamental laws of universe. The universe is governed by these two fundamental law. So that's why it is very important to know about these two fundamental laws. We'll be also talking about of n number of other things which are there related, correlated together, and we'll also try to find out the correlation between this fundamental laws and W.D. Gann, and then we'll go to octaves also slowly and gradually. So let's start from some basic things. Let's say, for example, if we go on Google and if you type George Gurdjieff, right? So you'll be getting various things accordingly. Yes, Sadhguru, he has talked about this awesome guy. There's a book which is over here, In Search of Being. So we'll be talking about this book also because this fundamental laws have been referred over there in that part. I mean, like if you go on Google, yes, you'll be finding huge amount of stuff, right? There are websites which have been basically made around this guy. As I told you, yes, Sadhguru has talked about him as especially. There is Osho who has also talked about him. So let's go to the fundamental things which we'll be able to know. The most important thing that we to understand is the anagram, because that becomes the fundamental part. So we will see about the anagram as such specifically. So these are the books that we'll be referring to. This one is the holy science that we have seen previously, the holy science. So yes, we'll see about references, taking references from this book specifically, because we'll be talking about octaves, music, and then going to law of three, law of seven, and also specifically talking about this awesome picture which is over here, and that is called as anagram. So we'll come back to this. Before this, let's talk about the correlation which is there between W.D. Gann and this gentleman. So, if you want to find about this correlation, first of all, we need to go through the book, which is by Tony Plummer, The Law of Vibration. Right now, we know that okay, law of vibration is based upon some articles which were there written by W.D. Gann. Now, there is no different book as such by the name of Law of Vibration, which was been written by W.D. Gann. But yes, Gann Study Group and other groups, WITS has specifically come out with that book, which is W.D. Gann on Law of Vibration. I hope you have that book. If you don't have, please let me know. I'll pass on the book to you. It is available on internet also freely, so you can definitely go through that. So let's try to find out the connection which is there between W.D. Gann and the second is Gurdjieff, right? So let's go through this part. Excuse me. Part of the answer is that a simplified version of the pattern was used by the great mindful proponent George Gurdjieff in the early years of the 20th century to demonstrate the inner working of cyclical behavior. Furthermore, Mr. Gurdjieff also hid the advanced version of the pattern in one of his major books. There is no clear evidence that Mr. Gann and Mr. Gurdjieff ever met, but the parallel between the two men are quite striking. They lived at the same time, they both promoted meditation practices, and their paths may well have crossed in the US. What is practically striking is that both men use exactly the same methods of hiding the patterns in their books, right? So yes, through this book we are also talking about law of vibration. Law of vibration is nothing but octaves that is related to music. So we'll be explaining this kind content which is there in detail, more of in this would be a session of almost somewhere around 7 to 8 videos which are there. So just to talk about this to my Indian fellows, my Indian brothers and sisters, that we have already made these videos in Hindi. So if you want, you can go through the YouTube channel, and over there, if you go to one of the sessions which is there, especially a playlist rather, so you'll be finding all the contents of this videos, rather 8 to 10 videos which are already been made over there. So this one making videos in Hindi as well as in English. So yes, of course, the international subscribers should also be knowing and aware about this part. So yes, that is the connection which is there between W.D. Gann and Mr. George Gurdjieff, because both have been working on the law of vibration, and this is very critical and important, right? So yep, that is Mr. George Gurdjieff. And if you go across on, let's say, for example, Wikipedia, you'll be finding details together about this gentleman, his early days, whatever things were there, the places he traveled. I mean, like all the information is basically been available. You need to only unhide or maybe probably crack the codes which have been given by him, right? So, yes, you'll be finding various websites also, and there you'll be able to find details. Probably one of his students is there. His name is Peter Opensky. So yes, he was also a great student of his, and he also helped him rather in various things together. Now, this is the book that I was talking about, and where is? Yep. So probably I'll just zoom it across. This is George Gurdjieff, In Search of Being. So here you find a symbol. We'll be talking about this symbol and also in detail, right? So yes, there are two fundamental laws that he has been talking about. So let's go to the basic things which are there. So how did I first of all came to know about this thing, right? So I was making or maybe trying to find out more of details pertaining to pyramids of Giza, as well as the Sirius star connection with our sun and with our solar system as especially. So there I came across with this book, and I've also tried to go across through various videos which are pertaining to music. So there I came to know across about Enneagram. So let me first of all go through this details, or probably try to explain you more about this. So this is something also called as the 7 levels of creation. Of course, this is a different topic altogether. I'll not get into the details of this, but we'll try to only understand about this part, which is also called as the Enneagram. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it talks about two fundamental laws together. See the meaning of that. The word which is there, Annie, in Greek is for 9, and the second word is gram as especially. So these two words is there. So yep. So this is Mr. George Gurdjieff. If you see the period which is there, 1868 to 1949, almost similar to what period was there for W.D. Gann, right? So he was the first person who brought across in front of the world the knowledge about this symbol which is there, in order to make sure only the true seekers of holy science would discover the knowledge hidden in the Enneagram. Mr. Gurdjieff deliberately altered some details. That is why my explanations are described below differs from the ones which is there from Opskensky. So as I told you, Opskensky was the student of George Gurdjieff, right, in his books. So explanation of this Enneagram which is there. So here comes the Enneagram. So now what happens in Enneagram is you basically get three different structures. What are these three structures? Let's go through them one by one. So the first structure is the circle, which is also called as the absolute or the oneness, right? So you know by different names together. But yes, the circle is overall complete. You start with one point and again come down to those points, same. So this is more of a complete part, a unity part, right? You can call that by various names. So this is the first concrete thing that we need to understand. Second is we have a triangle, right? Now the triangle basically defines the second law, which is the law of three. Now understand the law of three is among the one of the two fundamental laws of the universe. One law is for the creation part, and second is for the maintenance part, right? So these two laws are the fundamental laws, and it is been said that the universe works, creates, and then maintains on the basis of these two fundamental laws. Very simple to understand. You should only know that how this works, right? So what is this law of three? So it talks about 1 2 3 points together. This is more of into a form of a triangle, and this triangle fits into this circle, right? At this stage, this is more than enough for us to know about this part, right? Let's go further. Right now, what is this law of three? So it is a new arising from the previously arisen through the Harnell Miasnell, the process of which is actualized thus. The higher blends with the lower in order to actualize the middle, and thus becomes either higher for the preceding lower or lower for the succeeding higher. So there are three basic levels which are there. The lower, we have the higher, and there is a middle level which acts as a lower for the higher one, and also the higher for the lower one. right? We'll of course try to get into the details of this through the coming videos. So at this stage, let's try to understand that there are three different levels. And as I already told you, this sacred Triamazikamno consists of three independent forces, right? So this is the basic thing about this. This is called as law of three. It is also called as the second Triamazikamno, right? We can see three forces everywhere we look. Now, in terms of various religions, let's say, for example, in Christianity, you have the three forces, which is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In Hinduism, you have the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? And of course, if you see in terms of science, you have the forces which are proton, neutrons, electrons, and in atoms, again, you have these three inner constituents called quarks, right? Now we come to the second law, right? This was the first law, which is in terms of the triangle, right? The third symbol in the Enneagram represents the first fundamental law of the universe. Gurdjieff referred to it as the law of seven, the law of vibrations. Now, law of vibration is nothing but the law of seven, right? The law of octaves or the law of Heptaparaparshinokh, right? So if you know only about the law of vibration, it is nothing more but the law of octaves. And octaves, as you know, is related to music, right? So you call it as law of seven, law of vibration, law of octaves, of law of Heptaparaparshinokh. It's one and the same thing. Now what is this law of seven, right? So law of seven talks about one basic fundamental thing that we'll try to know, right? The line of the flow of forces constantly deflecting according to the law and uniting again at its end, right? If you start from this, yes, you go over here, you go over here, then this line, this, and again you come down to the same point. So these are all deflecting forces which are there into falling into a circle, but at the end of the day, again they come down to the start point, which is also the end point, right? This second primordial cosmic law has seven deflections, or as it is still otherwise said, seven centers of gravity. And the distance between each two of these deflections or center of gravity is called a stopinder of the sacred Heptaparaparshinokh. This is how it is, right? This law passing through everything, nearly arising and everything existing, always makes it completing process with its seven stopinders. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7. So the start and end is the 7, same thing. But yes, if you start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 are there. You also know that, okay, there are 7 days in a week. So again, somehow they have been connected. The weeks part is totally different. Probably we'll make a different video of that part. Yep. Coming back to our law of seven. Now, this is very important. Please understand this part, because if you understand this, probably the basic fundamentals would be very clear. In Webster New Dictionary, second college edition, we find a definition of an octave, the inclusion of a distorting do, right? Which is in reality the first tone of the next octave. So if you see in terms of maybe the octaves, we'll come back to that part, but let's try to understand the basic fundamental and then jump to the octaves part. The first tone of the next tone, the definition is as follows. The eighth full tone above a given tone having twice as many vibrations per second, or below a given tone having half as many vibrations per second. Also, the interval of 8 diatonic degrees between a tone and either of its octave. Right now, there are two basic things, right? So there are in music, we know that there are tones which are there. So these tones are by various. So let's say, for example, they start with do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and do, right? So this do and this do is the same, right? So this is do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, and do, right? So from starting from this do to this do, right? So this would be either doubling. Let's say, for example, if this is 1, this would be going to 2, or it would be half. For example, if you go from this point to this point, it would be half. So this is how the fundamental law has been there. So I'll read it once again for you so that you are able to understand it in a better way. I know it's a bit difficult during the initial time, but as we go gradually, probably things should be easier. So I'll just read it once again for you. The eighth full tone above a given tone having twice as many vibrations per second, or below a given tone having half as many vibrations per second. Also, the interval of 8 diatonic degrees between a tone and either of its octaves. So what are the intervals which are there? So these are the intervals starting from do to re is one interval, re to ma to fa to so to la to ti, and then do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the eighth one is repeating. Right. So this is how it is. And yep, these are the basic fundamental things. So as we see over here, again, Pythagoras has been talking about this fundamental thing which is there. Right. So again, Pythagoras, I mean, like, I'll just read it for you. Upon them, we can effectuate a detailed explanation into the diatonic scale structure of the octave. Note, between the initial vibration and either double or half of that vibration, 6 additional diatonic vibrations come into existence. This 6 additional vibration occur at specific ratios which were first documented by Pythagoras, a philosopher and mathematician in the 6th century BC, and are now fittingly called the Pythagorean harmonies, right? So George Gurdjieff is also related to Pythagoras, and we know that W.D. Gann is also related to Pythagoras, and basically because the fundamental has been the same, which is law of vibration, law of octaves, music. So that's why, yes, this guy is also important. So we'll try to get into more details about Pythagoras, maybe probably in a different video. Now let's try to focus more of on George Gurdjieff and try to understand about his two laws, that is the law of seven, that is law of Heptaparaparshinokh, and the second law, which is called as law of three, the triangle, which is also called as sacred Triamazikamno, right? So this is the basic thing. We'll start in next video and try to understand the law of three, law of seven more of in detail, and let's connect with you. And probably tomorrow I'll be making the next video so that we'll keep on going ahead in the journey, right? Okay, see you. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care. And if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe, like the videos, and please do comment so that we'll be able to understand about your feedback. Thank you so much.